Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly Armchair Sports Talk. We're back on Devil's Advocate. It's myself and Keane today, talking all things Manchester United. And I don't know about you, Keane, but very much a positive outlook compared to maybe the last couple of years that we've done, certainly this time of year. This time of year, we were getting in Ralph Rangnick, so there was maybe a little bit of positivity and things like that. We had Ralph Rangnick. There was a little bit of positivity, but
I think me and Shane probably were the only two that weren't at the time. But
yeah. But I think this is probably the most positive vibe in terms of a Manchester United season that we've had in a long time. Like, things are looking up. We've obviously got a big game coming up tomorrow, which we will preview. Our young players are flying and doing well. We're linked to players that aren't big signings, like aren't just the name signings. And I think that's important as well for sort of this progression of this Man United team. So we're going to talk about all of that. But the first thing we are going to talk about is the contract situations of Marcus Rashford and Alejandro Garnacho. Now, you can tell me if I'm wrong here or not, Keane, but has Rashford had his contract extended? Is that right?
Yeah, so his year extension was triggered. So effectively, he is in contract until the end of this season, but I think we're still in kind of very sticky territory with regards to that, because obviously if you can look at it from 2 points of view, we could have, triggered that to get a big fee off PSG in the summer, for him, or consequently, we're trying to buy some time in terms of negotiating a good contract for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And Garnacho's slightly different. He's out of contract in the summer, but the expectation is that he's going to sign a new deal, big money deal, hopefully in the next sort of couple of months. Is that correct as well? His contract's up in June. Yeah.
Yeah, his Garnacho's situation is weird because his contract is up at the end of the season, and his agent is actually talking to many clubs at the minute. He's talking to Chelsea, which Chelsea talk to every player. Chelsea
are just talking to them because another club are talking to them. Like, Chelsea hadn't actually heard of him. It's just like another club spoke to them. And,
Chelsea have talked to him. It's actually, funny enough, Atletico Madrid are back in firm, which I don't know how, the way their manager plays football. It's that'd be a kind of a strange move. I think when you look at Garnacho, and look, we'll touch on Rashford in a minute, but I think when you look at him, I think it's very important we do tie him down. Because I think when you consider he's such a good young promising player, and we've seen his quality very early. And I think when you look at Man United previously, we've let go players and then we're trying to buy him back. Obviously we let go Paul Pogba. And you look, we bought him back for £89 million. Look, and then we let him go for free again. That obviously there's an egg on our face for that one. But obviously we let Wilfried Zaha go. We sold him. We tried to get him back. Wasn't successful, but we tried to get him back. We're linked to Memphis Depay again. So I think when you look at this situation, I think Man United can't afford to be in this territory where we leave these players going and all of a sudden maybe 3, 4, 5 years later we're looking for him again. And especially if you look at the quality of Garnacho, if we do leave him go for free, just imagine how much he's going to cost in a couple of years' time if he keeps going the way he's going. Especially if he goes to one of the Madrid clubs or even to Chelsea. If we go in for him and Chelsea do get him, you are looking at maybe 100 million plus signing if he keeps going the way he's going. So I think that's very important. And not even just from a financial point of view. I do think, from a footballing standpoint, you look at our forwards at the minute, we're quite stacked there right now. When you look at, we've Sancho and Anthony on the right-hand side. Anthony Elanga as well, actually. They're all decent players in their own right. And you look at the left-hand side, we've Rashford, Garnacho, Sancho can also play there. And then Anthony Martial can also play there. Now, albeit he plays up front, but if you look at all our kind of forwards at the minute, that's the kind of bracket they're coming under. So I think look, we do need depth. We do need strength in depth. Because I think look, there's a different, I said this to you on a podcast a year and a half ago. Man United need depth, or we need strength in depth. You need quality in amongst that. And we had that for so many years. So you go back and you think about the times when we'd have Ronaldo, Tevez and Rooney, but behind that then you'd have a Ji-Sung Park. Do you know what I mean? You'd have Nani, you'd have players like that behind him who could push these players. So look, if we're to rebuild this club back to where it should be, look, yes, it's great that you can have 3 good forwards out there, but you have to have equally as good forwards in backup. And I hate this stigma that Man United are getting at the minute, that all of a sudden why can't we have depth? But Manchester City are allowed to have 250 million on the bench.
Yeah,
Do you know,
and Anthony or Sancho is not allowed to be a rotation player, but Mahrez and Grealish completely are. Like, it's just
it's different.
Right.
There's different rules with different people, and it's absolutely disgusting. So look, I think we do need to obviously strengthen in certain areas. Like I think we'll talk about transfers in a minute. I know we're going to talk about the striker position, but yeah, look, I want Garnacho to be sewn up. I especially want Rashford. I think like if you look at his Rashford's numbers, like before last season, there was always a continuous improvement in terms of goals and assists, right? And you made a point about Wan-Bissaka there a couple of months ago in terms of Wan-Bissaka getting limited coaching. If you actually take this into account, since Louis van Gaal, what's Rashford got? You know,
I do think Rashford was probably coming from a higher ceiling, a higher floor, and I think as well that he played for Man United for so long that he sort of had that attacking impetus. But I completely get what you mean. Like Rashford is I think we had that conversation in the group chat the other day. Like I gave Ten Hag credit. Obviously Rashford's done great, but Ten Hag needs a lot of credit because it's more than just confidence that I think he's improved with Rashford.
Yeah,
I think he's genuinely improved his play. He's improved his decision making. He's improved his positional play. He's not caught offside anywhere near as much now. Like he would be caught offside 2-3 times a game, every game last season, and it's not an effective way to play. But the way he's timing his runs better, the way he's angling his runs better, you can tell whoever's working with him, whether it be Ten Hag himself, whether it be Benny McCarthy. Anyone really that's working, they've clearly improved him, and that's what we needed to see. But it would have been nice to see it a couple of years ago. But I agree with you now; he needs to sort of be tied down, because even if it comes to fruition that he wants to move away in a couple of years, it's better to have that contract tied down for a 4 or 5 year deal, and then you get an extra bit of money if he was to force a way out. I agree with you on Garnacho. I think it will get wrapped up. I don't think there'll be an issue with that. I think Man United will offer him the most. Money wise, I know there was a thing that came out this week apparently that we're no longer going to be offering contracts over 200,000 a week or something.
Yeah,
it was going to be like basically a cap, which I think Rashford's above that cap already. De Gea is obviously above that cap.
Yeah, De Gea is 375, and
he'll have to take a massive cut. But you're thinking Rashford will have to take a big cut, so maybe he goes for a longer term contract for 200, and then
you know what'll happen there, Greg? Do you know what'll happen there? I think like with this salary cut. This is probably something until the new owners come in, but also their base salary, let's say De Gea is 375, that'll be cut down to 200, but let's say performance-based incentives are in there as well. So the next there'll be performance-based bonuses in there to kind of cover that. So, and I think look, we all know the Glazers probably cutting costs at the minute because the club are absolutely we're on our knees, we're broke at the minute. So look, I think Garnacho will be done. I think Rashford, look, I think it's a strange one, because I think if he keeps going the way he's going, yes, he could stay, and he very well could. But there's always that little thought in the back of my mind. Rashford playing with Kylian Mbappe, that is a possibility, especially when you consider Neymar, in the next couple of years, is probably going to be coming towards the end of his time. Rashford keeps playing the way he is and puts up the numbers that he is. I do think, he could reach that level, in terms of playing for Paris Saint-Germain. It is a possibility. And Rashford and Mbappe do have that friendship. So that is there. There's no doubt about that. So that's something, especially with Kylian Mbappe running the show over there, that could happen. Personally, I hope Mbappe fucks off to Real Madrid. So
he definitely will.
Yeah,
he definitely will. I think as well with Rashford is I think he wants to be there for winning the first title post Ferguson.
Yeah,
I think if he could get that and then get his move, maybe. I think that would be the dream scenario if he really wanted that move. But I don't know. I can't see him moving. I
see him being that one club player. He very well could be, because, look, he's been brought up through the cliff. He's been brought up through the academy. He knows the club, he knows the history, and he is one of our own. And I'd love Rashford to be at the forefront of this new age of Man United when the Glazers do leave. I would love Rashford to be at the forefront of that, with other world class players. I'm not saying he's world class right now, but I'm saying he's a very good player. But I'd love to see him play alongside, the likes of, let's say, a Harry Kane or a Vlahovic up front, or those players like that who come in and
a Bellingham or someone like that.
Yeah, like imagine Rashford playing with, I know we have a striker coming in who holds up the ball, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But imagine, imagine Rashford playing with like a top class number 9, and how that can help elevate his game along with the elite coaching that he's getting. Imagine a Garnacho, like whatever you say about Cristiano Ronaldo leaving the club and how that ended, Garnacho was kind of playing close seat to Ronaldo in the last couple of months that he was there, and you could see they were striking up a bond. So, like, I'd love to have some of these more experienced players, carry these young players and help them reach levels that they reach. And like, I look at a player like Casemiro at the minute and seeing what he's doing for like the likes of Bruno Fernandes. Leaving Bruno express himself more, leaving Eriksen express themselves. And I think experience, is so valuable in this game at this very top level. Like, you look at the dressing rooms we've had before, like we experience in every position. Like when Gary Neville was coming towards the end of his time, he was there, to kind of help guide the likes of Raphael there, Like, you look at the midfield for years, like, when Scholes, he was coming up and Roy Keane was bought, like, they're playing with the likes of Brian Robson and Paul Ince, so I think with this new age of United and some of the younger players here, Garnacho's, your McNeil's, Rashford isn't young, but he's still kind of fresh in the game. Well. Sancho as well, Anthony as well.
I forget how young Sancho is, I think.
It's just because he broke out, didn't he, so quick, and especially
he was a superstar at 17, wasn't he? He was a superstar.
With that England team, weren't he? So, yeah, experience is invaluable, Greg, and I think we do have to. We do have to get in there. I think we have the right manager as well to kind of have this dressing room with the right mentality and do the right mannerisms to carry themselves as United players. Because I think, especially post Fergie, one thing we've lacked is accountability. Yeah. We've lacked players who've had who are able to carry the weight of the United shirt. We've really, really lacked that. I think like the culture that Ten Hag is setting right now is. I'm not going. I don't want to compare him to Sir Alex. I don't want to compare him to Sir Alex, but you can see he carries himself in a way that is probably most similar to any manager we've had, I suppose, to Sir Alex since Sir Alex left.
No, I agree, and it's a winning culture. Really, it's standards that Pep set when he went into Man City. It's standards that Klopp set when he went to Liverpool. Going further back, it's standards that people like Wenger set going into Arsenal. And it's just setting these. You saw it even in the Wolves game, what he did to Rashford. Like, he had to make that statement to be like, "You're not going to play because you were late." And he had to make the statement to say you can't play, because if he didn't in that point, because Rashford was playing well, a lot of that hard work he's done over the last few months probably goes away, because you've got players in there that have been part of, as Richard says, a dressing room that had a sense of mutiny about it last season, and had before as well, before Rangnick, obviously with Ollie the year before. I think it was really important, and I think when he laid down that marker, being like, "You're not going to start," it sort of wakes everyone else up in the change. It sends a message to players like Garnacho. It sends a message to young players in the changing room that are like, "Okay, it doesn't matter if you are our best player at that time. It doesn't matter if you're on the best form. If you, it's not misbehave. If you step out of line in any way, you didn't intentionally do it, but if you step out of line in any way, or you don't meet my standards, then I will deal with you the way I do with any other player." And I think that's so important, and it's not something we've seen. I feel like a lot of the time, especially under Ollie had his boys that played every game. And I think that's where a lot of the frustration came with Van de Beek not getting a chance. I personally don't think he's good enough, but that's another thing. But I think there was a lot of sense that you knew what an Ollie team was going to be every single week, regardless of what happened off the pitch. And then because there's a lot more transparency, and we know like we knew that something had gone wrong. We knew he wasn't injured, Rashford, when he didn't start against Wolves. We knew something had happened, and then it came out, and Ten Hag was just like, "Yeah, it was internal disciplinary." Like, good. That's what we want to see. I will say, guys, if you are over on Twitter, make sure you come over to YouTube, get your comments in, join the chat. Yeah. So yeah, sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. But yeah, no, I think tying Rashford down, I could see him being the one club man. Tying Garnacho down in the next couple of months as well, just to like a 3-4 year deal. Yeah, I think Man United will pay him the most money, wages wise, and I do think our attack, if we bring in a good striker in the summer, we obviously don't know what the deal is going to be in January for the player that we're going to discuss in a minute, but if we bring in a striker in the summer and we have, let's say, an Osimhen or a Vlahovic or, fingers crossed, a Harry Kane, and then you have Martial there, and then your left-hand side options are Rashford and Garnacho. Your right-hand side options are Antony and Sancho. Suddenly you're looking at a squad that can play and hopefully challenge, at least on that end of the pitch, in all 4 competitions. Because like you said, City have depth in every position. It's the reason why Liverpool drop off, because they just don't have the depth to deal with that.
That's why City go on these runs, Greg, when they go on these 13, 14 game runs to ultimately win in the league, is because they can rotate when they're in the midst of an FA Cup run, when they're in the midst of a Champions League run, albeit City never win the fucking thing because the fucking Pep Guardiola overthinks. But one thing I will say is, like, we do need to, I think up front we definitely need a bit more depth, and I think in midfield we need a bit more depth, because I do think we're injured. And look, and we're not going to buy another CDM or another like midfielder this month, but I do think we're a Casemiro injury away from disaster this season.
Yeah, completely. We're Casemiro away from being McTominay in midfield.
Yeah, that's no disrespect to Scott McTominay. I think, like, you look at Casemiro and his effect on this team, he's world class. Like, McTominay's a good player. He's a decent player. He'll do a job, especially in a big game. Like, look,
he'll have his days, won't he? But
he'll have his days.
Yeah.
But you need someone who's a 7 out of 10 every single week, and that's what Casemiro is.
No, I agree. And I'm with you as well. I think in the summer it certainly needs to be a focal point, that there needs to be backup for Casemiro, especially because he's getting older and we maybe don't want him to play. Like, I think he's going to have to play tomorrow. And in an ideal world, you maybe don't want him to play 90 minutes against Charlton. But I don't think Ten Hag has the trust in the squad to rotate. And I think that's going to be a big thing. There's a lot of, and I think going back to what I mentioned earlier on, that the signings being made aren't your Pogba's, aren't your Lukaku's, aren't your Alexis Sanchez, your Di Maria's. They're like smart signings and signings that Ten Hag wants. I think if we can get a midfielder that can come in and back up Casemiro, and one that can, if we move on one of Fred or McTominay, if one of them moves on, I imagine it'll be Fred. And then even if it's someone from the academy, like a Kobe Mainu or anyone like that, to just sort of come into the squad and just alleviate a bit of the pressure, because Eriksen's 30 years old with a pacemaker and has played more minutes than, I think, probably most people in the squad. He'd certainly be up there. But yeah, absolutely. So I do want to move on and talk about the dream striker. Not quite. But Man United, obviously, in the last 72 hours or so, have apparently really stepped up their pursuit for Weghorst. The Dutch striker played at the World Cup, scored a couple of really good goals at the World Cup. Currently on loan at Besiktas from Burnley. Apparently, there has to be an agreement between Burnley and Besiktas and Man United in order to sort of get it back. I imagine it'll just be monetary compensation. And yeah, it looks like it's going to be a simple loan deal. What are your overall thoughts, Keane? I know when it was first mentioned in the group chat the other night, you were not keen, but since I saw it, I was like, you know what? If that's the player that he wants, then I'm good with it. So what were your overall thoughts, or what are your thoughts now, maybe a couple of days on from your initial reaction?
To be fair, I was after coming out of a 3-hour film when I read that message. But, like, to be fair, when I looked at it, I was like, oh, what the fuck? But anyway, yeah, like, look, I got information that we were in for Joe Felix, and I got from a very credible source that the interest was there, and like we were actually freeing up the number 7 shirt for him. Now, obviously, financially, it was a tough deal to do, and especially when you look at, I suppose, Atletico Madrid wanting an option or an obligation to buy. I think that's where Man United have kind of cooled the interest, and consequently, we're getting Weghorst now. Trevor's commenter, United typed in big lump on Google.
He's not a big lump. He's quality.
Yeah, like, look, I think for a short-term signing between now and the end of the season, I think he could be a player that I think could be, I suppose, a very good plan B, a very good option, especially if Anthony Martial gets injured, which I think it's inevitable he will.
Yeah.
Like, I look at his build-up play. I actually went back and watched highlights when he played against us last season, and his hold-up play and his build-up plays actually was quite decent. And like, look, he's a bastard. He'll get himself about, and do you know what? I think he's someone I don't think will feel the weight of the Man United shirt on him, because he's an absolute bastard. He's that type of player. I think in front of the Stretford end, I think he's going to be like that Cavani-esque player, who the fans will take to, because, like, I know I hate people using the phrase passion merchant, but he's that type of player, I think, who will make that difference in terms of, like, in a game where we're coming up against a team with like sitting on the 18-yard line, and we're struggling to break them down, and we're just trying that same sequence of attack. Like, mix of Dallo and Luke Shaw putting early crossings in. Maybe he gets a few knockdowns. Bruno can get on the end of him. Rashford can get on the end of him. But equally, like, look, he can score goals. Like we seen in the World Cup, he was good for Holland. He was good for Holland, and like we've seen that against Argentina, like against Christian Romero, who's supposedly one of the best defenders in the league. He gave him a tough time. So, look, you said it to me earlier, and I think it was a good point that we can't base his reputation on Burnley when he's getting service from Dwight McNeil and Goodmanson when they're absolutely fucking. Like, look at Dwight McNeil at Everton this season, for example. Like, if he's getting service from like Luke Shaw, Diogo Dallo, like Bruno Fernandes, like Bruno Fernandes puts in great balls into the box and no one gets on the end of them. And Christian Eriksen puts great balls into the box and no one gets on the end of them because they don't make that type of run that maybe a Weghorst or a Cavani would make. Like I said to you previously, I was actually on the train down to the Burnley game a few weeks ago, where I said to you, a few bottles in, but it was a good point. I said Edison Cavani will be brilliant in this Ten Hag system, like in terms of a number 9. And like I think, look, Weghorst can have that similar effect. Now that's just me being hopeful. I think he's a good short-term option. If I'm looking at a number 9, you do need to bring someone in like maybe a Harry Kane, maybe Osimhen, Vlahovic, someone like that in the summer. I did like the idea of João Felix being that false 9. I'm not going to lie to you, I did like that idea of him playing false 9 and Rashford was playing inside forwards. I did like that idea, because obviously he has that relationship with Bruno, he has that relationship with Diogo. So, it should be a decent signing. I just hope, we get it over the line because we need a body in there. We need someone.
Hopefully
Kieran Maguire though, Greg. Greg, we had that show with Kieran Maguire. And what did I say in that show? Do you remember when we said a transfer may come in? I said to you on that show with Kieran Maguire, we're going to get a Cavani, Igalo-esque signing, and it's going to be a short-term loan deal.
I think this is more, but I think Cavani and Igalo and things like that were just old and available and ready to go. Whereas I think this player, while he is available and ready to go, I do think that there's thought going behind it. Like Ten Hag, for a bit of numbers, has played 84% of his games with a number 9. The only time he played without a number 9 in his senior management career, it was in the Champions League. And that was when he had Tadic and he had Van de Beek. So he had Tadic running on beyond Van de Beek. So Van de Beek playing as almost a second striker. And other than that, he's played big target men. He's used Sebastian Haller, obviously, really successfully for Ajax. And Weghorst is more than just a big lump. He's scored 59 Bundesliga goals since the start of 2018-19. So that's only second to Lewandowski. So in 2 seasons, 3 seasons, he was averaging nearly 20 goals a season in the league. Maybe. He's averaging nearly 20 goals a season in the league. Like, we saw the goals that he scored in the World Cup. And when he was at Burnley, his pressure numbers, he's pressing from the front. He was still really good at that, and at Wolfsburg as well. He led the Bundesliga for a couple of seasons in successful pressures, over 20 successful pressures a game. So whilst I get that he's 6'6" and it's really easy to look at his height and his pace stat on FIFA and go, well, he's not really good. I think there has to be. I think there's a lot of thought behind it. He's a genuine good player. He actually fits the system, and I think he'll score a lot of goals for Man United. And I'm genuinely excited.
What would your target for Weghorst be then? Because I think if you're looking at this season, we've plenty of competitions left. If you had a target for him now, what would you think would be realistic for him coming into this team?
Oh God, I don't know. Because you got obviously Rashford's going to score goals. You hope Antony will score goals. You hope Bruno will score goals. 10 to 12 goals all comps maybe.
Yeah, that's doable, I suppose, depending if we stay in the Europa League.
Yeah, if we go deep, so let's say we do make finals, a couple of finals, and we are. Yeah, I genuinely am excited, actually, for real about the site. I think he'll be good. But let's say we go deep in a couple of competitions, and obviously we've got a lot of league games left, but we're not even halfway through the league season yet, so a lot of games left.
Games time we will be, won't we?
Yeah. So he could be in before sort of halfway, and I just don't see any reason why he couldn't get 10 to 12 goals all comps. And I think with him being Dutch, Ten Hag obviously knows his game a little bit better than I think a lot of people are giving him credit for. And I think and the fact that he's already on loan somewhere else shows that there's been a bit more thought about it, rather than I feel like if this was under any other manager, we'd go and get a Boubacar who's about to get chucked out by Al Nassr because he's just there and available. But there looks like there's going to have to be some sort of thought and it worked around with Burnley and Besiktas, and it seems like a player that Ten Hag genuinely wants. And I think with every signing that Ten Hag's made, he completely earned Man United fans' trust. Like he's got to be allowed the chance to get it wrong, because he's not got it wrong so far with the type of profile of player that he wanted.
Look at it. Put it this way, Greg. Fergie got plenty of signings wrong. Now, he got a lot right. He got a lot of bargains. He got a lot of great, expensive transfers right too. But Fergie even got transfers wrong. Like, you have your Bebes of the world, Taibis. We could go on. The amount of players Fergie signed that didn't work. Fergie found little gems like Ji-Sung Park, Javier Hernandez. He signed Eric Cantona for £1 million from Leeds United. Like, at the end of the day, like, signings will work out. Some of them won't. But I think, like, if he can give us a similar kind of return to what Cavani did in 2021, well, not probably.
If he comes off the bench in the Europa League final and comes off the bench and scores the winner, it's immediately worth it.
Yeah, 100%.
He just has to score one goal, and if he somehow plays against City on Saturday and scores the winner, immediately it's worth it. Like,
Keane's
it does
not get a flight home Saturday if that's the case. Keane's get the flight home Sunday.
That's all he has to do. He's just got to pop up and be a nuisance and be something different. And I genuinely think he'll start. Like, I don't think he's going to rotate. I don't think Martial will start. I think Weghorst will start, and Martial will be the one to rotate in and out. I wouldn't be surprised to see Weghorst start 70% of our games if he comes in for the rest of the season, because Ten Hag wants to play with a number 9. That's what he wants to do. He wants that option, and he trusts our midfield good enough to play with it. And Rashford, the way he's playing just now, doesn't need an Anthony Martial there. He needs someone, a big a target man type player who can hold the ball up and play him in behind. Not saying Martial's not good at it, but Martial's not available enough to be good at, to be effective enough.
What do you think about this comment, Greg?
Ten Hag as managers. I think he's up there, but I would probably
him and Eddie Howe.
Eddie Howe, but then maybe Arteta or Marco Silva.
Yeah, he's doing a great job too.
Right, there's 3 or 4, but I don't think anyone, like, if we were offered to be sat, 9th of January, and where are we, 4th in the league? 4th in the league.
3rd.
Yeah, a point off Newcastle, same points as Newcastle with a game in hand, we would have bitten your hand off for that. So I think Ten Hag is completely... Yeah, I think Ten Hag has completely surpassed all sort of expectations. Can you put that Weghorst comment on the screen? I can't read it. I can't click it for some reason. Yeah, so he was the Chris Wood replacement at Burnley, but like Keane said earlier, he was getting service by people like Dwight McNeil, who doesn't have an assist this season in the Premier League. I don't think. I'm pretty sure he doesn't.
He only had one assist last season.
He only got one assist last season. Like, no wonder he didn't score goals. No one scored goals in that Burnley team. There's a reason they went down. And he's not just like Peter, like he's genuinely a good player. He's tall and he's big, but he can finish and he presses and he's the player that he wants. Like, he is just the guy. He will do a job for us, absolutely. He's much better than the credit he gets from the Burnley. If you look at the goals, even his goals he scored this season, I know it's in Turkey, he's still scoring goals, and he scored a lot of goals in the Bundesliga. So I think it'll be a good signing. I can't see it. And there was a comment earlier on about Joe Felix. I know what you said. You would have liked him in. I don't think we needed another player that could play all across that front three. I think we needed just someone that is just a 9. I think we've got enough players that can, like Rashford can go to the middle. Martial obviously can go to the left or the middle. Yeah, ideally don't want to play Anthony through the middle, but maybe it might happen. Bruno can play as a false 9. Like, I think there was a lot of options there that maybe Felix wouldn't benefit from. I don't think he'll fit in at Chelsea either, for the record. I don't see what they get out of him.
Because... I think the Felix sign to Chelsea is a bit weird because you have Havertz 9.5. You've Nkunku coming in, he's a 9.5, and then you have Felix 9.5, or left winger, right winger. You know, it's strange, and they have 100 million Lukaku out on loan. I know Martin Sean have their own. Look, that's going to be a great loan. They've discussed that already, and like, look, if anyone hasn't watched that, do check it out after the show. Yeah. But yeah, like, look, I think that's a sign that could work. He could be a brilliant player under Graham Potter. Don't get me wrong, but you know. You never know, but yeah, look, it'll be interesting. Look, everyone in the comments, if he starts scoring goals for us and he just becomes an absolute bastard in front of his Stretford End lads, I'm telling you now, I know a lot of people in these comments do go to games, so
I expect a lot of apologies if he bags on if he scores a winner in a cup final or something this season. I expect flooded with apologies that Weghorst was the man.
I'll be sending you all StreamYard links and you can all join.
Yeah. Classic, like Ibrahimovic EFL Cup final vibes, like just right up at the back post. Just
let's just hope I don't nearly get my nose broke again, like I did.
Trevor said there as well. Todd Bowley offered enormous money for Felix. That's why he's going. That's exactly why he's going there. The journalists can be, oh, he preferred the Chelsea project. No, he didn't. He got paid. Atletico paid the money, and Chelsea paid his wages. Man United would have paid his wages, just wouldn't pay Atletico the money. So I don't think it had anything to do with the project that he fancied.
Will not apologise.
Yeah, I know.
But on that note, right, we do have
tomorrow's game. EFL Cup quarter-final. Doesn't feel like it should be the quarter-finals yet. It's just a bizarre time because we've not played the same number of league games. It's just weird. But EFL Cup quarter-final tomorrow night versus Charlton. First thing, are we confident?
I am, but do you know what it is? It's like the Mourinho year where we got like decent draws in the League Cup that season after City, and like there's just that little thing in your mind, like all that pops into my mind is Derby, Rochdale, Middlesbrough, these clubs like Rochdale took us to pens. Look, I am confident. I think, look, with Eric Ten Hag at the minute, I'm confident against any team. Mm-hmm. I do think we have a way to win. Look, fair play to Charlton. I think, look, to get this far, being a League One side, I think is exceptional. And yeah, like, look, it's one of them games where I think we have to rest players because, look, we do have the Derby this weekend. I do think, look, if you win the Derby, we're banging the title race. I do think we are.
We've got 5 days though. I think we'll go full strength both. We've got 5 days. I think if no one gets injured, then that's his only fear, because I think he backs the fitness of the starters.
Do you know what? You say Casemiro will start. I don't think he will. I'll tell you the reason why he doesn't. I think McTominay will play. Yeah. Trevor says confident about Charlton, but you know they'll put up to us for the first half hour or so. Yeah, it'll be squeaky bum time for that kind of half hour.
I do think score an early goal, kill their momentum dead, get a second one just before half time, and then that's what you want. You get an early, like on Everton, just without De Gea kicking the ball in his own net.
Yeah. But yeah, look, I do think McTominay will actually play a part tomorrow. I think, look, he actually is back from injury, and I do think he needs minutes. Scott McTominay does need minutes. Now, I'm going to get people in the comments probably after the show saying, what the fuck you on about, why Scott McTominay? And there's this huge online agenda against Scott McTominay, but I think Scott McTominay is a decent squad player.
Yeah,
I really, really do. I do think he does offer a physical presence in midfield. He breaks up play. Like, look, he gets himself about. He is a good player. Charlton manager is season ticket holder at United. Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, that is fucking hilarious. But yeah, like, look, I do think McTominay will play tomorrow. I do think Harry Maguire. I think, like, look, I may as well give you my predicted 11.
Yeah, go for it.
Talk about the games a bit more. I'll go Jack Butland in goal. I think he'll start tomorrow. I'll go Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, Malacia, McTominay, Ericsson. I'll tell you my theory behind that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fuck. Oh, actually, I was about to say Donny van de Beek, but he's out for the season.
He's done.
Oh, shit.
Fred?
No. Fred's not starting.
That should be brilliant.
So McTominay, Ericsson. Yeah, McTominay, Ericsson, Fred, maybe. Yeah. Actually,
I hate that midfield.
Yeah, McTominay, Ericsson, Fred. I think Ericsson plays obviously more advanced. Fred would be box to box. Then right wing, I think Anthony will start. Anthony will play from the start. Martial, I think. I don't know if he'll start Martial, because like he knows Martial can't play too many games in a week, and he will need him for the derby. So I think he might go Anthony Elanga up top, and Garnacho will play off the left. I think that'll be the front three tomorrow.
I think if Martial doesn't play, Rashford definitely will.
Yeah, I think Rashford will be kept for the derby as well. And yeah, Ailey says McTominay, Ericsson, Fred have negative energy. Look, to be fair, he probably could go McTominay, Ericsson, Bruno, like Bruno Fernandes.
I think Bruno. I think Bruno. I agree. I just don't think McFred and Ericsson is the way to go against a really physical, because they're going to be physical. That's what they'll do. They'll try and put the shit up us. And
like if Donny van de Beek was playing, I would have went McTominay, Ericsson, van de Beek. But maybe Zidane, Iqbal with Fred. Yeah, actually Zidane actually could play. Yeah, but it's a quarterfinal, so I don't know. Like he might go probably. I know McTominay is definitely going to start tomorrow. I just get that feeling McTominay will play. I
don't know. I honestly don't know. Like I know he started.
I just don't think he risks Casemiro right before the derby against Charlton Athletic. I really, really don't. Bruno suspended? He did get booked, didn't he?
Or maybe he did
against Burnley.
Oh yeah, we were at the game. We should know that.
Yeah, we were quite fucked up, though.
I don't. Oh, man,
McTominay needs to be booked for sure. Yeah. I think. Thing is, I don't think he's he's not going to reach world class level, but I do think he needs a loan deal similar to what Jesse Lingard had. Just to see
anywhere but fucking Everton. Stop giving Everton players to fucking ruin.
Yeah,
gave them bloody James Garner and he's not kicked the ball.
Bruno is suspended, so maybe my negative vibes midfield is going to be the midfield.
Man, I can't watch that. I'm not doing that.
Maybe look, if you want to kind of spice it up, maybe do you go McTominay, Zidane, Iqbal, who's a very good ball progressor and ball carrier, and then do you go Ericsson up like in number 10? You could. Manu, yeah, he could.
Kobe.
And Trevor says Keane can't remember yesterday. Never mind the game Bruno got yellow. Hey, Trevor, have you seen the state of me that day? Like this, 12 o'clock that night, I was a fucking broken man.
It's a great effort.
It was a great effort. I was drinking from like what time did I get to the airport? From like 6:30 in the morning up until the time the Trafford closed, which was about fucking what time was that, Greg? About 12 o'clock in the night.
Yeah.
So like that was a rough one. We're not going to talk about sessioning on here because, like, look, it is a football podcast. We might put.
I agree with Elanga should take a loan like Huddersfield
or something. Or even, do you know what? if Middlesbrough get promoted this season, send them down to Michael Carrick. Michael Carrick's doing a tremendous job, and they're playing brilliant football. Or even Ipswich are going to get promoted to the Championship by looks thing. Send them down to Kieran McKenna, who's also doing a good job. And Greg's thinking about that coaching staff, and he's thinking, I know Greg's shouting inside that Homer Simpson meme where he's just screaming. He's getting Ollie vibes there now.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, Ollie was the fault, not the coaches. I think he'll go slightly stronger. So I think he'll go Butland in goal. I do think Butland will play. Just to give De Gea, just sort of take him out the firing line after the Everton game, just to give him a bit of rest, bit of refresh. I think Dallo will play. I think it'll be Dallo, Varane, Maguire, Shaw. Then I think it'll be Casemiro, McTominay, Eriksen, Rashford, Garnacho, Anthony.
Yeah.
That's what I think it will with.
He could do it. I just get the feeling Langa's playing tomorrow. I just get the feeling.
I just don't know. I could see both sides of it. I could see him like start and you could bring the big guns off the bench, or you can like kill the game in the first 40 minutes and make 2-3 changes at half time. And still
think about these. I think he might do a mix. I just don't see Raphael Varane. I just don't see Raphael Varane with his injury record starting that game.
Yeah, I think Varane's better when he's just playing and playing and playing. I think where Varane is dodgy or when he's likely to get injured is when he's coming in and out, because that was his issue last season. He couldn't get like a run.
I agree, Eddie. I absolutely agree. Yeah, like Lampard and Gerrard get sucked off by the media, but then Ollie gets absolutely disrespected.
It's pretty strange how he's like never linked with any job ever, but again, Lampard and Gerrard do linked to every job for the rest of their time.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer do a lot better job than Frank Lampard is Everton at the minute. He'd have that team playing better football. He would.
He'd have been a better option for Southampton than Nathan Jones as well. I said that when they signed him. Like, Nathan Jones is interesting, it's something different, but Ollie should have been the one they called, because he'll get you playing at least a little bit. It might be vibes and stuff, but you never know. But yeah, I agree. I think he has a lot more management potential than sort of Lampard and Gerrard. He certainly is disrespected. And yeah, it's weird to think that it's probably he might never manage in the Premier League again, but he finished second in the Premier League, and it's just strange.
I do think he's probably going to come back to United in some sort of capacity, but it's not going to be in a managerial or a coaching capacity.
Just like an ambassadorial role or something.
Ambassadorial role or something like that, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'd look, to be fair, I think there's
always... He might be the women's... Is his daughter not in the women's thing? So he might be
she left. She went back to a team in Norway. Yeah, so... Look, I'd love to see him back in the club in some sort of capacity. Obviously, not in a... Look, like he managed the club. He's done it in that capacity, but I do love to see Solskjaer come back and maybe in a ambassadorial role. Similar to what, didn't Liverpool bring Kenny Dalglish back in a similar type of role after they sacked him a few years later. So, especially with new ownership coming in, if you bring in people in ambassadorial roles,
watch like Becks and stuff come back if there's like big money coming in to be like ambassadors. Like they'll be at the first home game next season and stuff to be like, it's not dirty money, I promise. Here's the people you like. That'll be the thing.
Yeah, but I do think, look, your sister is right in that regard. I think he did, for a lot, that went wrong towards the end of his tenure. I do think you have to admit, Solskjaer got many of us, loving United again after Jose Mourinho. I really do believe that. And I think, I think the football towards the end of the tenure was a bit flaky at times. Look, we had great moments. And it made us forget about the fucking dickheads who were running the club for quite a while. But yeah.
It was a good 18 months, and then the last sort of year was after the Europa League, it sort of fell off for me personally. But yeah, I think he benefits a lot. I think he benefit a lot going for a team that's not wanting to control the ball as well, like Southampton. You're not going to control games. Go play on the counter attack. That's what he did. That's how Man United were successful for so long under him. Really, that's how we finished second. Was playing on the counter attack. We didn't dominate games really. We couldn't break down low blocks. I don't agree with Trevor at all. I don't
agree with that at all.
Especially, I don't think he's a Glazer mouthpiece. I think he was hired and he was in a really tough position that he couldn't. It was
here's the question: if you had your dream job, would you start Mountain?
No, not a chance. You wouldn't say shit.
Put it this way: did Jose Mourinho? There's articles where Jose Mourinho called the Glazers good owners. Sir Alex called the Glazers good owners. Anyone who's in the job are not going to turn around and say my employer is shit Do you know one person that did do that was Ralph Rangnick? And look, fair play, he did do it. But look at the consequence.
He got bent. I mean?
Like, look, at the end of the day, like, there's ways to approach lines of work or whatever. But look, we're not going to get into that. Is there conversation?
No, that's what I think he'll do. And to answer Jarvis's question, I think he'll balance the two teams. I don't think he'll play 1 week and one. I think he'll just go, right, we've got what, 4 games in 12 days, it's shit or bust. Like, yeah. Let's say he plays the strongest possible team. We're a little bit tired in 12 days' time, but we've got a win against City, a win against Palace, a win against Arsenal, and we're through in the next round of the EFL Cup. It's worth it. Like, it's completely worth it, because we win those 3 games, we're in a genuine title challenge. And that's something that
even
none of us...
4 points in 2 games puts us in a very good position, considering Arsenal have a horrible run coming up as well.
And we know we can beat Arsenal, and the City game's a derby, and anything can happen in a derby. So we've always got that. Like, we're not like another sort of team that's playing them. It's not like a Chelsea or something going up against them. There's always be that little bit more and that little bit extra push for just on the field and in the stadium and things like that for being a derby. So imagine if we're sat here in 2 weeks' time with a win against all 3 Premier League teams and we're through tomorrow night, like, who knows? Who knows what the conversation will be come April, May, when we're in the title run-in. That'll be interesting. It will be interesting. But yeah, last thing, score prediction for tomorrow.
Fuck. I don't want to go 4-5-0 because...
Don't, because they'll beat us.
Anytime I've done that this season, I've done it for the Villa game. That was 3-1 this season. I went 4-0.
Don't go 4-0 then. Go give them a goal.
I'm not giving them a goal. I'll go 3-0. I'll go 3-0. But the 3-0 isn't going to, like, you know, be an easy 3-0, if that makes sense. Quality is just going to take over in the end. I think it'll be a nervy 20 minutes, half an hour. Yeah. Like, look, it's... I think
we can get a goal early. I think that we'll get a goal early, settle the nerves, and then I think we'll score again. I think 2-0. I think it'll be nice and professional, and we've done well. Apart from De Gea chucking the ball in the net, we've done all right for not conceding post World Cup. So I'd like to think that the defence could hold on. Although maybe if it's a defensive Lindelof and Maguire, I'm less confident. But no, that's everything for the show, I believe. Keane, is there anything you want to plug? Anything coming up on the channel? Drop like Thursday show?
Yes, so we will have, I suppose, post-match pod tomorrow about 10 o'clock after the game. So do tune into that. Mark will have guests on there. And then, Thursday night, we're going to have the Derby preview. We usually do it on Friday, but I'm flying. I'm going to be in Dublin Airport. I'm flying at like 11 o'clock at night over to Manchester for the Derby. So, I'm not going to do a pod in the middle of Dublin Airport when it's fucking packed. A few points in as well, won't be smart. We'll have a preview Thursday night. I'll confirm the time on Twitter. We'll do combined 11s. We'll do all sorts of chat on that. Hoping to get a City fan on as well. A City fan that was actually on BBC. Yeah, it's a tough job. I have to work
hard.
Heard your... No, I'm not. I'm actually not. This type of slander in the comments now from Trevor is going to get me in trouble. I probably
100%.
Pull the customs up in Dublin Airport. We'll try to get a City fan on as well. And hoping we're trying to get Shane Dowdy on for the Derby preview. And so, comment section, absolutely abuse him on Twitter. Don't abuse him on Twitter, but just hound him on Twitter. At Shane Dowdy 97, come on for the Derby. Everyone just tag him on Twitter, and we're going to get him on for the Derby preview this week. Thanks very much everyone for watching. And we do appreciate your support. And also, I really do appreciate Trevor trying to get me arrested in Dublin Airport as well. You're always so kind to me. But thanks very much, everyone. Hope you all have a good night. And then we'll see you tomorrow.